Hello, everyone. Austin here with the day after discussion between the Edmonton Oilers and the Seattle Kraken. The Oilers last night came out on top with a 4-2 victory to leapfrog the Vegas Golden Knights back into first in the Pacific Division, and they're also third place overall in the NHL standings. But that's not the biggest news right now, as the Cam and Strick podcast, Andy Strickland's podcast, there was something interesting that happened and was said on that podcast this morning. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a lot of different things about the Oilers and Kraken game as well. If you are new to the day after discussion episodes, basically how this works, I just have like a nice sit down, informal little discussion. It's very relaxing. Grab a snack because these are usually longer episodes. These are my podcast style episodes that I do. I try and do them as often as I can, but at least we're getting one out today, and that's what matters most. Every single timestamp will be available in the description below. If there's any specific topic that you want to jump around to, you can do so. I will make sure that you can do that in the description of this video. And as always, if you haven't been enjoying the content and you want to see more content like this, make sure to smash that like button and also make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed as we continue to build an amazing hockey community here on YouTube. We are flying towards 4,500 subscribers, and we're going to be flying towards 5,000 subscribers before we know it. I cannot wait. It's such an exciting time here in oil country. It's an exciting time for the YouTube community that we've built, and I just can't thank you all enough. So with that out all the way, let's get into our day after little visual that you can see. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon, of course, welcome in. For the day after the Oilers and Kraken, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the score, you'll see the advanced metrics, and then on the right are the topics that we are going to discuss. We have Mikko Rantanen to Edmonton. That is one of the biggest bombshells that we heard all day so far, and I'm going to play the clip from the Cam and Strick podcast for you to listen to, and then I'm giving my thoughts on that, whether I think that's even a realistic opportunity. I didn't want to do a whole video just on that, but I did want to touch on it in my day after podcast today. Next up, we'll talk about Corey Perry, his impact on the team so far this season, what his impact could be moving forward as we near the playoffs and in the postseason, and whether he will be a fit once the playoffs start. For Calvin Pickard, he locked it down last night, and we're going to talk about his game overall as the backup for the Edmonton Oilers. Then we're going to take a look at the NHL standings, and then we'll take a look at who I believe are the contenders versus the pretenders in the NHL standings, and then I'll give my final thoughts and wrap things up. So, without further ado, the Mikko Rantanen to Edmonton situation. I'm going to play the clip from the Cam and Strick podcast. It's about a 2-minute long clip. I'm not really going to interject until I have to. It's my apologies, my voice right now. Until I have to, and you let me know your thoughts as well when you're listening to this, and I'll let you know mine once we're done. Mikko Rantanen to Edmonton. Let's take a listen.
Can I tell you where I think he's going to sign?
Who? Rantanen?
Rantanen.
Can I guess?
And this is.
Can I guess?
This is not just speculation; it's informed speculation.
Give me a clue.
NHL.
Give me a clue.
I don't want to give you a clue. Just tell me where I'll tell you where he's going to go. Just guess. You may not get it, and then you're.
Are they a good team?
Great team, and then you're going to be like, "Wow, yes."
Dallas.
No.
Really?
No.
Even with the injury with
no. And I'm talking.
Sound bad.
I'm talking this summer. Who's going to pay
Vegas?
Mikko Rantanen? Always a possibility.
Okay.
But
New York.
No. And who's going to pay Mikko Rantanen the big bucks? You know where he's going to end up?
Who's going to pay him? Who's going to pay him? Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Come on. Tell me.
Motherfucker.
You ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
You want to know where Mikko Rantanen's going to end up?
Where?
Edmonton.
Oh, really?
He's going to Edmonton.
Oh, really?
How? They're going to be able to pay him, number one. And I think that there would be some interest from him.
How are they going to be able to pay him?
That's
a good question.
Don't ask me to break down the cap.
That's a bit. Well,
All right, so I'm going to pause it there. How would they pay him? How would they pay Mikko Rantanen? Also, apologies for the F-bomb that was in there. Did not realize that was in there. I will probably bleep that through an edit. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just leave it. So how would they pay him? Well, there's a lot of ways that Edmonton could go about this. If Mikko Rantanen does want the Draisaitl contract, he's not going to get that. Right now, as it stands, Mikko Rantanen, initially at least, the initial ask from Colorado was similar to what Leon Draisaitl got last summer. That kicks in next year, the $14 million plus per season. I really don't think he's getting $14 million. He could sign for 11, maybe 12. He could sign for 11 or 12 million, 50 goal scorer in his prime. Would look real nice next to either Draisaitl or McDavid. But how the heck would the Oilers even afford that? What could you do? What could you offload to afford that? Because they still have to sign Evan Bouchard, right? And they still have to sign Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid's deal, that won't kick in until the year after, so that's not that big of a worry. But you have Draisaitl's new deal kicking in next season, and Evan Bouchard, assuming he re-signs as well. Although Bouchard, you could probably lock him up at about $7 or $8 million per season based on his play this year. It's not as strong as it was last year, unless he goes absolutely haywire during the playoffs like he did last year and has another historic productive season. But for Mikko Rantanen, the way I see it is the Edmonton Oilers likely could try and move on from Evander Kane. That would clear up about $5 million in cap space, and then the salary cap is going up. It could go up $9 million. There's talks of it going up to about $97, $98 million for the start of next season, which would be crazy. But there are some players that they could move. There's some wiggle room. Someone like Adam Henrique, do you try and move him? He has a couple years left, $3 million per season. That would clear up the cap space as well. There are ways that the Oilers could do this. And I don't think the Cam and Strick podcast, I don't think Andy Strickland is talking out of his ass. If he is hearing this from credible sources, I take his word for it. Just with how things have played out with Mikko Rantanen, surprised that he was traded from Colorado, and the fact that he is repped by the exact same agency as Leon Draisaitl. Of course, you're gonna point out the similarities. You're gonna point out, hey, well, Draisaitl, his agency, he's in Edmonton. Maybe Rantanen goes to Edmonton. Do I think it realistically happens? No. I don't think it realistically actually happens. But I did want to address that because there's going to be a firestorm around it. There's going to be a lot of people talking about it. I wanted to give my thoughts on it, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. But if the Oilers want to remain a bona fide contender after this season, no matter what happens this season, and they go out and find a way to pluck Mikko Rantanen as a free agent, my God, that offensive group is just disgusting. Of course, Jeff Skinner's contract would be coming to an end as well, so that's at $3 million that would be cleared up. There are ways that Edmonton has the flexibility here, but it involves some slick maneuvering of the salary cap, some slick moves of different roster players, and of course, would Mikko want to sign in Edmonton? Does he want to play with Leon? Who knows? Does he want to play with McDavid? Does he want to win another cup? He may win one on Carolina. So that's an interesting one to me, something that I did want to just play the clip for. I wanted to get that idea in everyone's heads because now we got to start pushing hashtag Rantanen to Edmonton. Let's get that going. The fans are going to go so crazy to get Rantanen to sign in Edmonton. And then once July 1st hits, Rantanen's going to sign with someone like Florida and everyone in oil country is going to be very sad. But that's just usually how it works. So Mikko Rantanen to Edmonton, is it realistic? Right now, I'd say probably 50-50. That's a player that I never really thought of as an opportunity to sign with the Oilers. But based on the Cam and Strick podcast, and then when I'm thinking about the number crunching in my head with the salary cap, it sounds crazy. It really does sound crazy, especially considering Bouchard is being re-upped, and then they're going to have to get McDavid re-signed, and then they're going to have to re-sign Stuart Skinner, assuming that he's going to be the starter moving forward. I mean, if the salary cap goes up as much as they're saying, you're going to lose Jeff Skinner. You could move on from an Adam Henrique. I don't know. I think it's possible. I think it is very possible. Maybe an Evander Kane gets moved too. Maybe you ask him to waive his no move. I think he has a modified no move once the trade deadline hits, so you could even trade Evander Kane if you wanted to bring in a player like Mikko Rantanen, who would just be a surefire home run, slam dunk, whatever you want to call it. That would be a terrific pickup for Edmonton. It won't happen this season. That is something that likely happens this summer, if it happens at all. I'm not saying it will. If you all come back to this video on July 1st and you're like, you lied to us. You lied to us. You said Rantanen was signing in Edmonton. You lied to us. You're the worst Oilers podcaster ever. Listen, I'm not an insider. I just listen to what other people say, and then I give my opinions on it. So in this situation, at least, I have no inside information. I have no idea if Rantanen would sign with the Edmonton Oilers. Would I love it if he did? Absolutely. I think that would be amazing. I think he would fit amazingly well in this system. And we'll see what happens moving forward. In saying that, though, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Corey Perry. Now, Corey Perry last night. I talked about this. I made a YouTube short. I made a TikTok about it. I talked about this in the post-game fan reaction last night. Corey Perry's goal that he scored for Edmonton last night was pure beer league masterclass. He jumps off the bench. He does the circle around the red line, heads straight to the offensive zone, waits for the stretch pass from Darnell Nurse, goes in on the breakaway and scores. And for Corey Perry this season, he has had a great year. He's now up to 9 goals on the season. He has was 17 points. Let me just get my stats in front of me here. 9 goals, 17 points. He's a +8 rating. +8. That is something that shocked me. He's a +8 rating for the Oilers, and he's on pace this year to put up about, I don't know, maybe 16 goals and 30 points. That's pretty dang good from a player that a lot of people wrote off heading into the offseason. A lot of people were surprised that he re-signed. I know I was kind of surprised just with his age and the fact that he can't really skate anymore. He has no foot speed. Corey Perry has 0 foot speed. But he is showing that sometimes just how smart you are on the ice it's more important than your ability to skate. So it's one of those situations where a lot of people, they'll talk about different prospects and, oh, can he skate? He's not a great skater. If you have the smarts to know where to be on the ice, to get ahead of where you're supposed to be, you're going to have success. And Corey Perry is proving that. Corey Perry's always been a smart player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer likely in his career by the time it's all said and done. He has a Stanley Cup. He has a Hart Trophy. He has a Rocket Richard Trophy. He's played on Team Canada, 50 goals scorer. Like this, in his prime, I think people forget just how good Corey Perry was, how effective he was, how great of a player that he was for that Anaheim Ducks team. And I think it's even crazier that he was almost an Edmonton Oiler way back in 2003 or 2004. There was a deal that was going to send Mike Comrie over there. And then Edmonton wanted, I don't remember what happened. Edmonton wanted a bonus, some bonus structure to be paid. And then the deal was nixed. I can't remember exactly how it happened. But Corey Perry was almost an Edmonton Oiler before he even played a game for Anaheim, which would have been crazy. Imagine if Corey Perry had spent his whole career in Edmonton. Would the Oilers have won the Cup in 05-06? Gosh darn it, who knows? Love to think about those alternate realities. You have all those Marvel films and their alternate realities. Would love to see one with the Oilers and Corey Perry back in the early 2000s, of course. But Corey Perry's having a real solid season. Last night, once again, a real strong game. Like I mentioned, he is a +8 on the season. And when it comes to his effectiveness on the ice and his role, he only has 53 shots, right? So he is shooting at 17%. He is shooting pretty high. He doesn't shoot the puck a lot. But he has his role. And his role is fourth line, eat some minutes, go on the offense, get involved physically along the boards, and if needed, if you're down by a goal, they rely on him to play up with McDavid or Draisaitl on one of the top 2 lines. And Corey Perry has really carved himself a nice role on the team, and it's really difficult to picture him not in the lineup once the postseason starts. But you think about the team and the upgrades that they could be going after, especially when it comes to the forward group, and you're sitting there, and if they pick up a couple forwards, they pick up a D-man and maybe a goalie, well, is there even room for Corey Perry to be in the lineup? And I want to say yes, because he's a player that I would want to remain in this lineup. But would he? And should he? Does he deserve to stay in this lineup the way it is? If they upgrade down the middle, the center, if they upgrade on the wing, is he out? Is he someone that you have to sit down and go, Corey, I'm sorry, like it's just your age, your foot speed. We need to be a little bit quicker in the postseason. Do you sit him? Because I think there's a lot of value in this player. I think he still has something left in the tank, and I think he can be a valuable and effective player once the playoffs begin. So let me know your thoughts on Corey Perry. Do you think he still has it? Do you think he has enough in the tank? And do you think they should start load managing him towards the end of the season, assuming that he will be part of the solution in the postseason? Let me know your thoughts on Corey Perry in the comments section below, and we'll move on and talk about Calvin Pickard, who also had a terrific game last night against Seattle. Calvin Pickard has had himself just a wonderful season for Edmonton. And for all the talk about the goaltending in Edmonton and they need an upgrade, they need a better backup, Stuart Skinner, Calvin Pickard, they are not that's not the tandem that wins you a Stanley Cup. Well, Calvin Pickard right now on the season, he's won his last 5 straight games. He is 13-4 on the season. He has a 2.47 goals against average, a 901 save percentage. And Calvin Pickard, like, he already has more wins than he did last year in less games. He's played 19 games. He has 13 wins. 13-4, yes, wins are a team stat. I understand that. But Calvin Pickard is giving them quality starts. He very rarely gives up 3 goals in a game. His goals against average is 2.47. And for someone that's a journeyman, he's 32. Yes, he's not a starter at the NHL level. The fact that he had to be thrust into that position last night with Stuart Skinner and his wife, Chloe, which, by the way, congrats, Stu and Chloe, on the birth of your baby boy. I hope he is very healthy, and I hope you are all healthy and doing well. And I'm sure everyone here from the Austin Hockey YouTube channel, the Austin Hockey community, we all send that love and support out to Stu. We love Stu. We have our Stuart Skinner card on the desk right here, always manifesting that Stu energy behind us. But Calvin Pickard was thrust into the start last night after Skinner was in the hospital having a baby with his wife. And Calvin Pickard put on a show. Can't fault him for either of the goals against. You know, one of them went off of McDavid and then it bounced off the ice 10 feet in front of Pickard's shoulder and then over his shoulder. And it's just like, okay, I don't know what to do about that. And then the first goal, Brett Kulak kind of threw his man into the net, knocked Pickard in. Pickard wasn't in position to make the save. They did challenge, the Oilers did, but it did count because of the push by Brett Kulak. He was the one that pushed the defender in. But Calvin Pickard, he's put together a solid year, and he's making decisions really difficult for the Oilers front office on if they should be getting an upgrade in goal. And sorry if I keep losing my voice here. It is really smoky outside where I'm at right now, and that smoke is like feeding into my studio, and it's making it hard to breathe. So if you hear me sniffling a bit, if you hear me getting stuffed up, that's what the reason is. It is very smoky. So I'm doing my best to keep talking and not get choked out here. But Calvin Pickard, Stuart Skinner, they've been a solid tandem for Edmonton. Of course, they can be better, and every metric shows that the goaltending is kind of Edmonton's weakest link. Their defensive metrics are strong. Their offensive metrics are strong. It's the goaltending where it's, you know, people look at the goals saved above expected. They look at Pickard. They look at Skinner. They go, is this the tandem? Can they get the job done? But I think people are forgetting that a lot of the goaltending problems earlier this season were in the first month and a half of the year. From October 15th to November 15th, Edmonton had by far, I think, the worst goaltending in the NHL other than maybe Nashville. There was a couple teams in there where the Oilers, they were the bottom 5 team in goaltending. But since then, like both goalies, Pickard and Stuart Skinner, they've completely turned their games around. Stuart Skinner has been a top 5 goalie in terms of goals saved above expected since December. I can't remember what day it was, December 17th or something, December 18th. He's been good. He's been real good. Calvin Pickard, he's been good. And you don't need a goalie to put up 2 goals saved above expected every single game. You just need a goalie to put zeros on the board. Play even. Because the Oilers don't give up a whole lot of chances overall. They're one of the best teams at not giving up chances. Suppressing chances is the word that I will use. So for the Edmonton Oilers, Calvin Pickard, he locked it down last night. Big win for him. He has won, I think, 5 in a row. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4 games in a row at least? He did jump into the game against Boston, but he was not credited. Game before that was against Seattle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins in a row, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins in his last 10 games. 9 wins in Calvin Pickard's last 10 games. Most games with a save percentage above 900. He had a 929 last night, 923 against Vancouver, 912 against Minnesota. Minnesota's a good team. Also beat Minnesota back on December 12th. Only gave up 1 goal, 967 save percentage. I mean, listen, the goaltending right now in Edmonton, it's fine. And there's always going to be talk about the goaltending. And there's always going to be talk about Game 7 against Florida. And I get it. But right now, I'm happy with the goaltending. If it gets the Oilers towards a division title before the trade deadline, yes, like they wouldn't win the division title, but like if they're still in first in the Pacific Division by the trade deadline and they want to go for the home run, upgrade and net, and really, really put this team over the top, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm open to that. I think that would be great. But as of right now, they don't need to make a panic trade in goal. They're still figuring out exactly where they're at in terms of their needs elsewhere on the roster. The goaltending for Edmonton, I think they look at that as it is the most important position, maybe arguably, because obviously you need a goalie to stop the puck. But I think the Oilers look at their goaltending as it just has to be good enough because the rest of the team in front of the goalies are so effective. They're so solid. So we'll see what happens with the goaltending, but at least right now, Calvin Pickard locking things down. You absolutely love to see that. And we're going to move on to the NHL standings here. We're going to take a look at the league standings and then the wild card. We're going to take a little look around the NHL, and then I'm going to discuss my contenders versus pretenders as well. So let's take a look at the NHL standings. Of course, Washington continues to be first place in the NHL, 71 points. They are tied with Winnipeg, also at 71 points. But Washington is 2 games in hand on the Jets. The Oilers have a game in hand on the Jets. They're only 4 points behind Winnipeg. The Oilers are third place in the entire league. Third in the entire NHL. I don't remember this ever happening in my entire lifetime as an Oilers fan. The Oilers are such a good team right now. And if we continue to go down the standings here, you have Toronto in the top 10. Minnesota, they were top place in the NHL for a while, but they've had so many injuries. And it sounds like Kirill Kaprizov, he's going to be out for a few weeks now. He's dealing with something, and that sucks for Minnesota, of course. New Jersey, Florida, these are really good teams. The Oilers are in with the best teams in the league. And yes, they lost to Washington the other night. I think they played way better than Washington. Probably deserved the win. Oh my God. Sorry, my throat. I'm telling you, man, I'm getting choked out in my studio. This is horrible. If we take a look at the divisions right now, the Atlantic Division is this is crazy. Detroit has 53 points, Montreal 53, Tampa 55, Boston 56, Ottawa 56. There is a sandwich of teams going on in the Atlantic Division. Over in the Metro, you have Washington, Carolina, New Jersey kind of running away with it. And then you have the Columbus Blue Jackets having a strong season, an emotional season to maintain pace in the wild card. And then out west, Central Division, it's very top heavy. Winnipeg, Dallas, Minnesota, Colorado. And then after that, it really drops off. No offense to St. Louis, but they're likely not a playoff team, despite the best efforts of Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg on that team. Utah, Nashville, they've won 7 of their last 10. Can they get back in the wild card race? Probably not. Their start to the season was just too hard to come by. And then in the Pacific Division, again, pretty top heavy. You have Edmonton, Vegas, LA. And then after that, Calgary kind of sniffing around LA for third in the division. Then you have Vancouver down in 5th with 54 points. Seattle, Anaheim, and San Jose. Seasons to forget for them. They are not going to be playoff teams likely. Obviously, that could change. When we look at the wild card standings, let's go to the West because this could affect Edmonton. If the playoffs were to start today, Edmonton would face Colorado in round 1. If the season ended today, and I believe Winnipeg would face Calgary. I kind of want Calgary to kind of keep winning. I would love to see a Battle of Alberta in the first round. Personally, I think that would be so much fun. But if the playoffs started today, Edmonton would play Colorado in round 1, and I like Edmonton's chances. Personally, the fact that Colorado traded Rantanen and now you just don't know how that affects that locker room. You don't know how that affects a guy like McKinnon and Makar, and Rantanen was such a big piece when it came to producing offense. Does Drury and Martin Necas move the needle enough for them? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out what Colorado's made of as the season progresses. Vancouver right now just outside of the wild card picture. They are 1 point behind Calgary. Calgary with the game in hand. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. And then St. Louis, they are 5 points back of Calgary. Calgary has 3 games in hand on St. Louis. So I can't imagine these teams leapfrogging each other to get into the playoffs here. I think what we have in the West and East, well, not the East. The East is crazy. Anyone from, I would say the Islanders at 49 points all the way up to Boston has a chance to sneak in as a wildcard team. And then the Atlantic Division is also so wide open to get into that third spot too. The standings are crazy this year. Nobody's really running away with anything other than your division leaders. You have Washington, you have Winnipeg, you have Edmonton. Again, but even Edmonton's not running away with anything because they're only 1 point up on Vegas. So that's something to keep an eye on. When it comes to my contenders and pretenders, though, when I take a look at the league standings, I truly do believe, and again, sorry, I have to take a drink here. My apologies. I truly believe Washington is a pretender. And I'm going to have a lot of Washington fans. They're going to come back to this, especially if they win the Stanley Cup in June. They're going to come back to this video. They're going to come back to my previous video that I made on them. And then they're going to be like, what do you know? What does this guy know? I don't like Washington for a few reasons. One, I think they're being carried by goaltending. Two, their 5-on-5 metrics remind me a lot of the New York Rangers over the past couple of seasons. I think they're due to regress. I think that is a team that is 100% due to regress. And will they regress to the point where they lose in the playoffs? I'm not sure. The regression might not even happen until next season. They may continue to just ride this crazy wave of PDO all the way through the postseason. I've never really seen it before, but it is possible. Winnipeg is another team where I consider to be a pretender. Again, it comes down to the goaltending. Connor Hellebuck is a big reason why that team wins hockey games. They have a lot of scoring, well-rounded scoring in Winnipeg, don't get me wrong. But when push comes to shove in the postseason, the way Winnipeg plays defensively, I think they can be exposed. If they were to go up against a team like Colorado, once again, do I think Colorado could beat Winnipeg? Yes, I really do. I really do. And again, that's no disrespect to Connor Hellebuck. Winnipeg this season is having an amazing year. But I look at their 5-on-5 metrics. Winnipeg doesn't convince me that they are a contender. The contenders to me are Edmonton. I'm a biased homer. So yes, Edmonton, Vegas, Carolina, Dallas. These are the top 4 teams for me. Dallas, Carolina, Vegas, Edmonton. Toronto, they have the goaltending. Do they have the depth? Do they have the 5-on-5 play? Do they have the health? You know, Johnny T, he's been hurt this season a couple times. You have Austin Matthews, he's been hurt. Can Mitch Marner carry the play once the playoffs begin? Lots of questions there. I don't know. But the top 4 contenders for me are Edmonton, Vegas, Carolina, and Dallas. I would probably throw Florida in there as well in that conversation. Those would be my contenders. And then, of course, my pretenders, Washington, Winnipeg. I would say Toronto and Minnesota are pretenders for me. That doesn't mean I'm right. None of that means I'm right. I'm not trying to dunk on anyone. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. I'm not trying to say that my opinion, is the end-all, be-all. That's just my thoughts. And I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your thoughts on who the contenders versus the pretenders are for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. We are going to wrap things up here a little bit earlier than I anticipated. Once again, I don't know what the heck smoke is going on outside right now. I don't know if there's a house on fire or not, but I'm going to have to end things here because I can hardly breathe in my studio. So for everyone that tuned in, thank you for your support. Like I said, everything is going to be time-stamped for you, so just make sure to click around. You can re-listen to the Strick and Cam podcast. Take a listen, see if I'll post the whole link, the whole clip for you to listen to, and maybe they're just talking out of their asses. Who knows? But if Mikko Rantanen truly could come to Edmonton, boy, that would be darn exciting. We'll see you in the next one. I'm not sure what I have planned for tomorrow's video, but there will be something up tomorrow. And then, of course, Thursday morning pregame report for the Oilers and Red Wings. The pregame report will be uploaded tomorrow night for members. So if you're a member to the channel, you can pay $2.99 a month Canadian to become a member. If you're a member of the channel, you'll get to watch that first, and then the video will go live for everyone on Thursday morning on game day. So thank you all for tuning in. I truly appreciate your support. It means the world. Tell someone that you love them. And as always, fight like a kid, fight like Ben. Let's go Oilers. We'll see you in the next one.